Good evening. How are you guys doing? I'm trying to kind of sit low in the car so you guys can see me on here, because I've noticed it's starting to like cut off the top of my hat on the vlog. It is 2:11 a.m. and I am feeling fantastic today. I felt good all day long. I woke up feeling good. I've had a great day today. So, yeah, let's get right into this vlog, shall we? No, but I did. I woke up today and I felt rested and fantastic. And I went and had coffee with a friend of mine. And then I drove around and did errands. And just, it was really a good day. And then I came home and I filmed videos on all of my channels. I felt very productive today. I got a lot of things done around the house. I got, yeah, just, I felt very productive today. The only thing was that early in the day, my car situation, like with like my auxiliary cord and stuff, I couldn't like really listen to it on my, this whole thing just like fell apart. So I couldn't listen to my audiobook, but I figured it out. And I was kind of upset about that because I started this new audiobook last night. So I finished A Stranger Beside Me, which I'll talk about in a second. And I started this new book called No Exit, by Taylor Adams, and it's about this college girl, and she, you know how I was saying that I wanted to read a book that was like about a blizzard? Well, she finds out like the day before Christmas or 2 days before Christmas that her mom has pancreatic cancer and has to go into the hospital. And so she's driving from Boulder, Colorado to, I think, somewhere in Utah, and she gets stuck on this like over like this pass in the mountains in the middle of the night, and it's like a blizzard and the interstate's been shut down, and she's there with 1, 2, 3, 4 other people, and like in the parking lot she looks in this van and she thinks she sees a child locked in this van, and so she's trying to figure out like who kidnapped this child. It's actually very interesting. So I opted to start listening to that instead of Harry Potter. I was like, I think I'm going to listen to some shorter book. I mean, it's not super short. It's like 9 hours and 45 minutes. I was like, I think I'm going to listen to another book or two. And then I guess catch up on Harry Potter next month. I don't know. I just have downloaded so many books on Audible that I was like, there's so many books that I want to listen to that I got really excited like looking through all of them, and I was like, I think I'm gonna sneak another book in there and then I'll listen to Harry Potter. So yeah, so I started listening to that last night and it is so good. I'm already an hour, a little bit over an hour into it, an hour and 7 minutes. It's really good. It's actually better than I thought it would be. I thought it would be real cheesy. It's kind of a little cheesy, but the main character, this girl named Darby, is kind of really well developed, and I like it. So, yeah. And then I finished The Stranger Beside Me last night by Ann Rule for the book club. And I'm so happy that we are doing a year of true crime. Like, I'm so excited about it. And, but it was interesting at the end, because like the book ends and then she does like the epilogue, and then she does like an afterword, and then she does like a new chapter, like an extended chapter, like, because the case kind of keeps on like over the years. Like I think the book, she finishes the book in like 1980, but then like all of this stuff happens with like appeals and you know, him finally being executed and things like that. So she like adds all of that stuff to the book. I did not know that Ted Bundy had been married and had a daughter. Like, I had no clue about that whatsoever. And it's a very small part of the book, but I kind of started looking up some stuff online about it last night. He apparently, this Carol Ann Boone, who he met like the final phase of his court stuff, and she became like she would like bring him stuff and she was always by his side. They ended up like tricking the court and getting married in court. It was very interesting how the whole thing went down. He had to ask her like in a certain, like he basically had to say to her, you know, like, will you be my wife? And she said yes, and it had to happen in court, and then it was like a legal marriage because of that. It was very interesting, the whole way that it all went down, and they had kind of like researched how to do that. So anyway, yeah, so I finished that. And then last night I got home, and while I was like rendering the vlog, I started watching the confession tapes of Ted Bundy on Netflix, which I had thought that it was the Zac Efron movie that was going to be on Netflix, but in actuality, that is a movie that is coming out at the Sundance Film Festival. So it's going to be like in major theaters and stuff like that. And it's interesting because the name of the movie, which is like wickedly something evil, something wicked, or something like that, is actually like a quote from, I think, like the Miami Herald is like they refer to him this way. So yeah, I'm excited to see that movie too. But I started watching the confession tapes last night, which is different than the ones that Anne Rule refers to. And it's interesting, like, listening to these confession tapes. I'm only like 20 minutes into the first episode, so I don't know, maybe they reference Anne Rule in it, I don't know, but it almost kind of makes you wonder, like, how well did she really know him? Like, and in the book, and she doesn't shy from it either, he gets very, like, angry with her for like writing the book and going to talk about serial killers and things like that. It was interesting because I had gotten quite a few comments from people saying that like her opinion about him changed throughout the course of the book. I would say at the very end, I would agree with that statement. I would say that at the very end, she like saw it for what it was, but she still like sympathized with him like being executed. And it was just like her relationship with him was so bizarre. Like I really don't understand it, you know? And it was interesting because on my Q&A, somebody asked me what I thought about capital punishment, and I have really mixed feelings about it, you know? Like I personally do not believe that I could be part of that process, if that makes sense, of like being any part of it. But at the same time, like, when it involves, like, I really believe that, like, I think I talked about this on here not too long ago. I really believe that a victim's family should be consulted closely for what they desire, you know? Because, I mean, I can't, you know, like, I think it's hard until you've gone through something like that to say how you would really feel. I don't really honestly know how I would feel in a situation like that. I don't honestly know as a family member what I would want. You know, I don't know if I would want them to spend life in prison thinking about what they've done without the possibility of appeal. You know, is that any kind of life? I don't know. I don't know that I would want them, you know, I just really don't know how I feel about it. So I think it's an interesting question, you know? But I definitely think the family should be consulted in situations like that. So yeah, I finished that, and then I was watching. I will tell you, if you start to watch it, it's gruesome. Like, it's, even having read the book and hearing the specific details of what happened in each murder and things like that, it is still very, very gruesome to watch. Even just the beginning of it, like when they're flashing through kind of like just pictures of all of the stuff, like, it's very gruesome. And like, I'm not somebody that gets really weirded out by stuff like that. It really bothered me, and quite frankly, when I was going to bed last night, I was kind of a little freaked about it. And like, that doesn't usually happen with me. I just had weird feelings last night when I was going to bed. I don't know, I just didn't, like, I thought I heard stuff, you know what I mean? Like, it was like that, I didn't, and I don't usually ever have that reaction to stuff that I'm watching, unless it's like really weird paranormal stuff. So I was kind of surprised that that was my response to a documentary, and especially when I was watching it, like, it didn't scare me. Like, it was only when I turned it off that I was kind of like, yeah. It's weird when you listen to her book, though, because at the end of it, he has like a last phone call with his mom on the phone, and, you know, you think about him being a serial killer, but after you've dedicated almost 19 hours to listening to, you know, 17 years of his life, knowing Ann Rule, and then you kind of feel like you know him to some degree, reading the book, and it's just really sad, like, from the mom's point of view. Like, she really believed him till the very end when he confessed, and, you know, you think, like, how would you feel as a mother, you know, in that situation? She makes some comment to reporters, like, she just can hardly believe it because they have daughters too, or something like that, and, I don't know, the whole situation's just so bizarre. It's just so bizarre. So yeah, so anyway, I finished that, and I started watching that, and, I'm very intrigued by the case, but I would say not in the way that I was intrigued by, the Golden State Killer. And I'll tell you why. Because the Golden State Killer, you don't really ever get to know the guy who they capture. Like, it's really more about the investigation, the victim stories, the story of the investigator, the story of their lives, and what happened with Michelle McNamara, you know, was from I'll Be Gone in the Dark, and then Paul Holes and his story, you know, telling about it from an investigator's point of view, and, you know, like, hearing his story about, like, it was the case that he wanted to solve and things like that. There's no real humanizing of the killer, which I think is good. I'll Be Gone in the Dark, I mean, Ann Rule really humanizes Ted Bundy, and I don't know that I realized it while I was reading it, but when I was done, it made it very hard for me. It was almost an uncomfortable feeling, and I don't know that unless you read it, you would understand maybe what I was saying, and I don't mean that to, like, sound in a certain way, but, like, if you read the book, I think you'll get what I'm saying. It's almost like you don't want to see him that way, because the evil that he did was so unbelievable. The way, I mean, horrendously tortured people, you know, and, it's just so sad. But anyway, so yeah. So then I had texted Melissa earlier in the day, and I had said, do you guys want to go out and get something to eat tonight? And Alex had kind of, like, made plans with Carlos and Liliana, but I guess when Carlos got home, which was, like, supposed to be at, like, 11 o'clock tonight, and so Alex was like, well, I'll just come to dinner, and then if I end up going over there, I end up going over there. He was really tired today. He's worked a lot this week, and, so he was like, you guys just arrange it. So Melissa and I are trying to arrange it, and then our friends Aaron and Eric wanted to go, and her daughter, and so we had decided to go to Cheesecake. It's just really easy for all of us to go there, right? And Aaron's daughter went because she wanted cheesecake, and then Melissa and Jason got there first, and we were supposed to go at like 8. They got there at 8:15. I was there at like 8:20. I, like, walked in right behind them. Excuse me, and then Alex and Aaron and all of them were on their way, and they were meeting us there, and it was a 90-minute wait. So we went to go eat. So anyway, we were trying to figure out where else to go eat, and we ended up going to this place called Luciano's, which is like this Mexican restaurant. It's not my favorite Mexican restaurant. I got a vegetarian chimichanga. It was horrible. It had, like, I mean, it wasn't horrible, it just wasn't what I wanted. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you're, like, kind of in the mood to, like, have a, like, eat. You know what I mean? Like, have a eat. When you're in the mood to, like, eat, and then the queso was good, but other than that, it just wasn't great. Oh, I did get a to-go cup, though. We were sitting there, I mean, we were there forever, and then, like, when we were on our way home, because Cheesecake said they would text Jason when, like, the table was ready, we were probably at Luciano's for, like, 2.5 hours, and we were leaving, and I was on my way home, and Jason texted, like, because all of us are in this huge group text together, like for like a year now. And Jason texted us and was like, Cheesecake just called and asked us if we're ready for our table. I'm like, yeah, no. We were thinking about going back over there because Melissa and Aaron's daughter wanted to get cheesecake after Mexican food, but none of us, by that point it was so late, none of us wanted to go over there. And so then we got home, but we had fun. We had a really good time. So then we got home, and Alex was so tired, and I go, are you going over to Carlos and Liliana's? And he was like, I don't know, I'm waiting to hear back from Carlos, and I guess Carlos never texted him or whatever. And I was laying in bed while Alex was like doing stuff on Instagram. He was like putting some picture up or whatever. And he is like putting his YouTube channel together. Like, he hasn't even talked to me about this. And I was like, so tonight he was like, he had this banner that he made up, and it was like his name, but like the L was him like coming in off the beach with like in his bathing suit. And he was like, what do you think of this? And I go, for what, like a YouTube picture or for like an Instagram picture? And he's like, no, this is gonna be my YouTube banner. And I go, your YouTube banner? I go, are you starting a YouTube channel? He was like, yeah, I'm really thinking about it. And I was like, are you really? And he was like, yeah, I think so. He's like, I think I want to like, you know, do like men's hair care products and men's style and, you know, tips for this and like what's worked for me for like losing weight and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, and he was like, music and style, and it'll be like a, you know, basically just like what do you call it, lifestyle blog. And I was like, okay, I think that'd be fun. I think you'd have fun with it. He was like, well, I see how much you enjoy it. And he was like, I think I would enjoy it too. And he was like, I love when, you know, like, your followers reach out to me. He was like, it's so much fun, you know, like, these women are so nice to you. And he was like, blah, 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 whatever. And I was like, yeah, I think you would have a blast with it. He was like, what do you think of this picture as my... I was like, do what you want, you know? I said, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I said, because if I start telling you what to do, I said, that will not work. So I said, I'll just be 100% supportive. I'm real excited. I said, we can do some videos together, and I think it'd be really fun. So he's real excited about that. I don't know if that, you know, he was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to whatever. So I was like, okay. So anyway, but while he was working on that, all that, I fell asleep, and I woke up, and I was like, all the dogs were like right around me. I haven't even had to take any ibuprofen today because of my tooth, you guys. Like, that is, you know, if I bite down hard on that side, which I'm not going to do, but if I do, I can feel it. But like, I haven't had to take any, the pain has not been bad at all today. So, I don't know, I'm still on the antibiotic, obviously, and maybe that's helping. I don't have any clue. I don't know. All I know is that I haven't had the need to take anything today. And I'm really trying to not take anything unless I need it. So, yeah, today has been like a great day. I didn't feel sick. I felt like, you know, a little congested with my nose. But, like, I mean, in winter in Indiana, you kind of always feel that way. You know what I mean? Like, from December to, like, March, you kind of always feel congested. But I haven't felt sick at all. I felt like 100% energy. I felt great today. So, yay! And, you know, like I say, I think it's important to notice those days that you're feeling really great as well. Not just talk about the days that you're not feeling great, you know, because I think that we do that sometimes. What was I going to say? Oh, I was, like, rolling through, like, Twitter and stuff before I was getting ready to come vlog. I wanted to talk about this on here. Okay, so I follow, like, news stations in Indianapolis. I don't know if you guys do that, but I follow, like, the local news stations. And one of them had, like, retweeted this story, or they had, like, shared this story of... Did you guys hear about this kid that was bullied on the bus in Oklahoma? Okay, this sickens me. It absolutely sickens me. So, they have video footage of this kid, right? I mean, I literally watched this video, and I was like, this was me as a kid. Like, this was me as a kid, like a younger kid. Although, like, I was very silent. Like, he's like, so what it is it's this kid, and it's in Oklahoma somewhere. And he's on this bus, and he knows, like, this kid is gonna beat him up or something like that. And he's like, crying, and he's like in the seat, and he doesn't want to come out of the bus. The kid's like waiting for him, and he's like, he says something like, don't make me get off the bus, don't make me get off the bus. And then he's like, can you just drop me off at my house? Please don't make me get off here, will you just drop me off at my house? He's saying that to like the bus driver, right? And there's like some kid in the background who says, get off the bus or something like that. And then he's like, no, just, and he's like begging, crying, screaming. And then the bus driver, you can hear an adult voice in the background. He goes, get off the bus or something like that. And so this kid, finally, they kind of like, you can't really tell if he gets off the bus himself or if they push him off, but it looks like they push him off the bus. And as soon as they push him off this bus, you can tell the other kid is like bigger than him, like older. This other kid starts swinging at him and beating him. Bus driver doesn't get off. Bus driver doesn't do anything. I mean, like, people are videotaping or recording it with their phones. Apparently, they've gotten, like, watch the rest of the footage from the police officer. They're like, I didn't know buses had black boxes, but apparently they're pulling the black box off the bus to like hear the audio and the visual, or the audio and video of it. And then the school has turned it over to the police department, and there are other kids on the bus that were recording it as well. I was so disturbed watching this video. You know, I'm not making light of my situation when I grew up, but when I was growing up and I was being bullied, you know, whatever teacher's office or dean's office or principal's office I would sit in, there was always this attitude of, you need to get over it, or you need to man up, or you need to just, you know, you know, don't let them break you, kind of thing. Well, they would never say that. They would have just said, like, you know, like, well, they would, and actually they ask a lot of times. I had this dean that I went to high school with that asked me, what are you doing to antagonize them? Now, here I am, okay, an effeminate kid in high school, and the dean of my school, I'm getting picked on, okay? I'm having people take a Sharpie and write horrific words on my locker, on my car, okay? Pushing me downstairs, pushing me into lockers to where I'm physically hurt. Other horrible things that happen on school grounds. And the dean is asking me what I'm doing to antagonize it. That's a serious problem, okay? That's a serious, serious problem. You know, a lot of schools don't want to admit that they even have a bullying problem. Because if they admit that they have a bullying problem, then they have to admit that they don't have a good protocol in place, other than, you know, these systems that we've come up with, anti-bullying and no tolerance and all that kind of stuff, which is such bullshit anyway. You know, and so I used to do a lot of work with school administrators talking about bullying. Oh, hold on, it's going to stop. So I used to do a lot of work with school administrators talking about my experience with bullying and, you know, what worked in those situations and stuff. And one of the things I would always say is, you have to admit that there's a problem, first of all, okay? You have to have teachers say, I don't know what to do in these situations. I don't know how to make it better. I don't know if I'm making it worse. But as administrators and teachers, you have to admit that you don't know what you're doing is right, or it's making it worse, right? You can't just say, hey, we don't have a problem here. It's like, okay, when I worked in treatment, so when I was a counselor in treatment, like, I went and spoke to schools a lot. And one of the things that administrators would say is, we don't have a drug problem at our school. Like a high school, right? And they would cite these unrealistic statistics of, like, how many of their kids had ever tried, like, marijuana and, you know, whatever. And, which all of those tests are completely skewed, because you have to look at people that are using drugs and alcohol on a regular basis, their attendance records, their, you know, willingness to be honest about their drug and alcohol use on some kind of, you know, test. So you don't have have a realistic idea of what use looks like in your school, right? Okay. And one of the things I would always say to schools is, first of all, you've got to admit that you do have a problem, no matter how small, how large it is, but you've got to admit that every school has a problem, okay? Every school. Once you admit that, then we can figure out what you need to do with how your problem is specific to you, to your school, okay? To the diverse population that your school has. How are you going to reach them, okay? You know, a lot of schools, like, immediately expel somebody if they have a drug or alcohol problem or if they find out about it, right? Like a lot of public schools, the way that they handle drug and alcohol problems, I don't think is real healthy. But I don't want to get into a whole discussion of that. So anyway, you know, it's very similar to that, where schools they want people to look at them as like a pillar of their society, so they're not willing to admit that they have problems, okay? That bullying may be a real problem in their school. They don't want to admit it, right? Okay. So I'm watching this video tonight, and I'm so heated, and I felt so bad for this kid. And I so related, you know? I don't know, it just really made me sad. And it was interesting because I was like reading the comments underneath it, and people were like, well, what happened with, I'm like taking this price tag off, I don't know why. People were like, well, what happened with the bus driver? Does he still have a job? He better not have a job. I'm telling you right now, if my kid was riding some bus and was terrified to get off for his life, because we've seen kids that age, okay, who have gotten beaten to a pulp. We've seen kids that age that are being bullied that go home and you know, take their lives. And if I was sitting there and I was watching that video and my kid was begging for their life, an adult school bus driver said to them, get off this bus, that bus driver, I'd have their job. I'd have their job, and I'd have a major lawsuit from that school district if they didn't deal with it. That's some serious stuff. Listen, I'll tell you right now, I know people get sick and tired of hearing me talk about being sober in my recovery, and I don't care, because I'll talk about it as long as I want to talk about it. Because I think that every time I talk about it, I hope I'm helping one person out there. But I know that I talk a lot about my being bullied too, but I'll tell you right now, I'm 46 years old, and it started when I was 6 years old, okay, in first grade. Not a day goes by that all of that bullying that I received doesn't play out in some way who I am in my life today. And I'm not a victim, okay, and I sure should am not a victim of that. And I've even made up with the people that bullied me, the majority of them, you know? I have good relationships with them today. But I still have deep-seated wounds and scars that are affected by what I went through. And my response to the world in many ways is a response to what I went through for 12 years of being in school, being bullied. And I just don't understand why we're still not listening to the kids in situations like this. Like, how serious does it have to be? I don't know. And like, you know, cyberbullying is horrific. Like, horrific. There is no way, I'm telling you right now, by what I went through when I was in high school, if I had to, like, meaning for me, being with my friends at 3:10 in the afternoon on, and being with my family was a safe place to me. If my safe place of being with, you know, a lot of kids don't have safe places like that, but I did. If I didn't have my home, my friends, hanging out with them, my family as my safe place, because that was invaded by social media and bullying on social media and cyberbullying, I don't know that I would have made it. I honestly don't, you know? And I have to tell you, one of the saddest things to me is when I see adults engaging in it. Like, I just don't understand it. I don't get it. I just really don't get it, you know? I don't know. I mean, like, I have seen people that I know, like, on Facebook over, like, political things years ago. It's not so bad now, but, like, with the election and stuff, say things to each other that were so hurtful, you know? And I'm like, I don't know, it's so sad to me. You know, I really made this goal going into 2019 that you know, that I was going to live the best life that I possibly could and put out positivity, kindness, compassion, and love into the world like I've tried to do. Do I fall short of that? Sure. Do I screw up at times? Absolutely. It's a learning experience for me, but I'm doing the best I can, you know? To live unapologetically, you know? And I don't mean like when you screw up to not take responsibility. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying to being authentic and genuine to who you are in your heart, you know? But then also in looking at all of that, to living in the love and the spirit and the, you know, the light. Because there is so much, you know? There is so much lightness and spirit in the world. And I don't mean that from like any kind of religious or spiritual point of view. I mean that from like, you know, to music, to theater, to art, to, you know, candles in our house, to flowers, to planting gardens, to, you know, uplifting other people with our words, to, you know, just like, it's like with my review channel, you know, like it's so interesting. Like I get so many comments from that people are always like, oh my God, you know, like, I love your energy on this channel, or like, I so needed this, or like, they're like, you know, I get that on my Peterisms channel, it's in here, but they like, you know, people really respond well to that channel. I have so much fun doing that review channel. I have so much fun doing it, you know, and I really think that like the lightheartedness, like that's kind of what I mean with the light sometimes, but like the spirit and the fun and all of that comes out because I just love doing that so much, you know, and, like today I did my favorite things video in my review, and I do like I'm trying to pick like a genre every week, and so I did like accessories today, and I kind of talked about like being festival ready and like all of the things that like I'm buying for like festivals and going to Miami and going to Mexico and just having fun this summer and things like that. And I had so much fun making that video, you know? And the responses on those review videos are always like, they're pretty good. I mean, I know that there are people that don't like them, and that's okay, you know? I mean, I'm not stupid, okay? Like, me reviewing, like, every kind of M&M is silly. I get it. You know what I mean? But I have fun with it. I could be criticized for a lot worse things, let's just be honest, you know what I mean? Other than how ridiculous it is that I'm reviewing every type of M&M. So if somebody wants to criticize me for that, I'm like, okay, like, I could do a lot worse with my life, you know what I mean? But I just think that, like, to tap into, there's so many people, I think, that really get it. I think that sometimes the fight to be right, or, you know, we've really turned into like that. Like, this is one of the reasons I don't get on Facebook very often is there just isn't that much that's very pleasant to me over there, you know? And there's always just like this fight to be right about something, or, you know, like, I don't know. And you know, all of my sponsors have always said to me, would you rather be happy or would you rather be right? And, you know, every time I say that, somebody always disagrees with me, and they're like, well, there are certain situations where being right is really important. Yes, I agree with that, okay? I'm not talking about specific examples where you know, are fighting for, I don't know, whatever, but like whatever issue that would apply to. But overall, like, okay, if you're with your husband or your boyfriend or girlfriend, right? And, you're fighting over something silly, let's say, like a memory, like, and they remember it one way and you remember it another way, and you're like, no, I know I'm right. No, it went this way. No, it went this way. It's like, would you rather be happy or would you rather be right? Okay? Is that argument over how that memory went more important to you than being happy? Because it's not to me. I'd rather be happy. To be honest to God, I would rather be happy. And I don't know, maybe it's a question that people have to ask themselves. And if you say, no, I'd rather be right, then I guess you got to ask yourself, why is your short-term and long-term happiness less important to you than being right? Like that's very telling. And I will say, the reason I've had every sponsor say that to me isn't because I got it the first time. It's because it took me a lot of work to get there. You know, it took me a lot of work to realize it just really doesn't matter to be that right to me. It just really doesn't. If other people in my life want to feel like they're right, or that they have all the answers correct, they can have that. That's okay. Like, I'd rather be happy. Peace of mind and serenity is more important to me. And in the last 6 months, I really, really learned that. Like, that is probably one of the most valuable lessons that's come out of the last 6 months for me, is the need for happiness over being right. You know? I just think, like, for me, I don't do well. You know, I have, like, worked so hard to have, like, peace of mind in my life and serenity and all this kind of stuff that I don't do well now when, like, chaos and toxicity come into my life. I just really almost don't, like, know what to do with it, if that makes sense. Now, when I was growing up, I grew up in so much chaos with my mother being an alcoholic that I was very good for a long time, you know, living in chaos and all this, you know, toxicity. I craved it to some degree. My earliest relationships of like 18, 19, 20, you know, that were very short-lived were all chaotic relationships, you know. I kind of felt like, I think to some degree, if we weren't fighting and making up, then what was the relationship? Have you ever been there? You know, when you're like, oh my God, like, yeah, we fight, but we make up so well. You know, like, no, that's not a relationship, okay? It just really isn't. If you're fighting really hard and making up really hard, like, that's not a relationship. That shouldn't be happening. I just, you know, do I think that fighting is normal in relationships? Absolutely. Fighting and arguing, not physical fighting, I don't think that should be happening, but, you know, do I think that arguing or having a difference of opinion in relationships should be happening, is normal? Absolutely. But do I think that it happening constantly and it being this pattern? No, I think that's sad, you know, like, and I don't want to be in that relationship, but I was in my early 20, you know, 18 to 20, I was totally, well, 18 to when I got sober, you know, that was the epitome of my relationships. You know, Friday night, you know, I'm dating somebody for 3 weeks, and like, you know, I'm yours and you're mine, and then I don't hear from you for 2 days, and I'm gonna go out on a Friday or Saturday night. You better watch out, because I'm gonna show you who's hot. You know what I mean? I'm gonna make you jealous. Like, that kind of toxicity, like, that's not pretty, right? But you learn, you grow up. You can't learn how to get back up if you don't fall down. You know, I say that a lot. And I saw that on some video that I watched not too long ago, and I really, really liked that. And I think when we, you know, just admit to ourselves at some point that we're human beings and we fault and err, and, you know, we're going to make mistakes in life, and we kind of just wrap our heads around that and then strap ourselves in for the long journey and say, you know what, like, you're a human being, you're going to screw up. Okay, learn from it. But when you know better, you do better, right? Okay. But for me, you know, in 2000, I feel like, okay, this is the learning experience. I don't know how to say this in a way that I really, because this was like a really valuable lesson for me, so I want to say it in a way that's like really clear, that I don't like ramble for a long time, which, you know, for me is hard. The lesson, I think, that was so important for me was, do you ever, like, you're like thinking it through in your head and then you kind of like lose it a little bit? It wasn't so much about just the fact that, like, going in from 2000, okay, I'm gonna leave all this in 2000 and like 17, 18, 16, you know, whatever, like negativity and chaos and all this kind of stuff, and then I'm gonna like choose positivity and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't so much that as it was like, I think one day what I that our lives are really a mirror of what is inside of us. And so, like, I realized one day that it really is a choice. Like, how I wake up every day and what I put out there in the world really, truly is a choice. Like, I just got that. Do you know what I mean? And all of it, from resentment and anger and guilt, shame, remorse, you know, hurt feelings, all of it, all of this just stuff, right? Feeling, you know, entitled to those feelings, you know, all of it, you know. One day what I realized was, what am I gaining from all of this? Like, what am I gaining from always being, like, over here in kind of like the dark, instead of, like, turning that into the light, right? Like, okay, I'm not a perfect person, you know? I'm not gonna have perfect relationships with everybody. That's growing up, when you realize that, you know, it's playing in the playground at kindergarten, we realize that, you know, you're not gonna get along with everybody, and people in our lives come and people go. Okay. Things are gonna happen to us in life that we don't feel like are fair. We're gonna make mistakes. You know, and once you start looking at all of that, once I started looking at all of that, and I realized, you know, it really is no different than what I've been learning since I was 5 years old going to kindergarten. It's just on a different level, you know, it's just leveled up. And so then what I realized was, it wasn't even so much like going into 2019, although it just kind of seemed to happen around that time. What I said to myself was, you know, it was this profound moment that I had where I was like, you know, like when you see a picture of somebody, like on Instagram, okay, and I don't care how fake it is, and they're like walking on the beach, and they're like so happy, and they're like, oh my God, you know, like they're so happy. I was like, I want that. Like, I want everything that picture, like, shows. I want the happiness. I want the walking on the beach. I want the sunlight. I want the just feeling full of joy and just fun and adventure and all of this. And that cannot exist in any form of negativity. It just can't. So, for me to have the life that I want to have, the negativity's got to go. The negative Nancy attitude, the being caught up and needing to be right, the anger, the resentment, the shame, the guilt, the remorse, all of it, the hurt feelings, the victimization, being wrong or being right, no matter where I stand on all of that in my life with all of it. And this is where the inventory has been very, very important for me. I had to take a look at what my part is in all of that. I had to take a look at what I can fix and what I can't fix. I had to look at what I, you know, want to fix. I had to look at what I want my attitude to be going forward. And what I realized was, I want to live in the sunlight of the Spirit. I want to live in happiness. I want to live in joy. I want to live in peace and serenity. I don't want the rest of it. And I don't care if that means I don't have the most exciting life of my entire, you know, exciting. I don't care if that means that I'm not, you know, like all that. It's just, it's not that important to me anymore. It just really isn't. It's more important for me to just aim for that beach picture. You know what I mean? Or the picture of, you know, somebody sitting in a reading nook on a, you know, window seat with candles lit in a fireplace and they're reading a book. Aiming for that picture. You know, or aiming for a picture of somebody taking a walk with their dogs. What pictures of the world do I see that are appealing to me because I want that to be my life? I don't very often see pictures of people like screaming and yelling, and I think to myself, that is how I want to live my life. I mean, I don't, you know? And I think that you know, I worked with this counselor and worked back in treatment, and She was phenomenal. And we were co-counselors together at one point. And so when we would run groups together, you know, we would identify ourselves by like who we were. So, you know, like I would always say, you know, like I'm Peter, I'm an alcoholic and an addict. And then we would say how we choose to feel or how we felt for the day, right? Like, you know, a lot of like therapeutic groups do like how you feel and whatever. And so I would say, but she had like this belief system, and she had trained me to believe this as well, that we choose our feelings. So I would say, today I choose to feel, because she would say like, today I choose to feel, right? And then we would identify our feelings of how we were choosing to feel. And even if you were angry or sad or lacking motivation or whatever your feeling was for the day, I don't know if that's really a feeling, but you would say that, like, today I feel down today, you know, or whatever, or today I'm choosing to feel down. And what it made you realize over time, right, was, because I'm very much a believer that you can start your day over whenever you want. Yes, shit's gonna happen to us. It's kind of out of our control. This doesn't apply really to major life stuff, like finding out somebody really close to you just passed away, or an accident, or a health issue, or, you know, a violent, tragic situation. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about most things throughout the day that bother us. I do believe that, like, if you just, like, are in traffic and traffic sucks, or you've had a bad day at work, or you get into an argument with your loved one, or whatever, you know, it's like, you can start your day over whenever you want. Like, I truly, truly believe that you can go take a moment to yourself, find some peace, find some serenity, meditate on it for a second, which means just deep thought, and say to myself, I'm starting my day over, this is not worth it to me, you know what I mean? And I really believe that. And so I believed equally what she taught, which was we choose our feelings, you know? I know there's a lot of people watching this right now that are like, I am really struggling to get behind that. Like, I don't believe I pick my feelings, that I choose my feelings. Well, if you think about days that you've woken up that you've really, really had, like, you just really haven't been on the right side, right? Or if you've been you wake up and you're in like a really great mood, and then somebody like does something or says something and they take that mood away. Like, you've chosen to hand over your mood to somebody, or your feelings. It's gonna stop, hold on. Like, in that moment, like, we've literally handed over our emotions to somebody else. They have control over us in that emotion, or in that moment now, you know what I mean? That's a lot of power. That is a lot of power, you know? I see this on social media all the time, right? Like, when somebody will say something, I'm sure we've all seen this. I mean, this happens all the time. Celebrities, just regular people, all the time. Like, have you ever talked to somebody and they'll be like, who was I talking to the other day that was like, they said something and they go, oh yeah, like, my husband loves to get in like political arguments on Facebook. It cracks him up. And I'm like, okay, like, and I hear that comment from so many people, I really, really do, that the engagement of the drama, like, that's not interesting to me today. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Like, that fight, I don't love that fight anymore. I just don't. There was a point that I really, really did. There was a point that was a lot of fun for me. It's very draining to me today. I don't enjoy it. I'm not talking about the political discussion. I'm talking about any discussion that means that my emotions are gonna be zapped, you know? Like, I just don't enjoy that today. But it's interesting, like, when you see these statements we put out, you know, and they're really like fishing statements. Like, okay, who can I pull in? Because it's about power. It's about me wanting to have power in this situation and whatever. And it's like, I wish more people realized, because it took me a long time to realize, that by not responding, you have more power than the people that are starting it to begin with, right? Like, and what's more important to you? Peace of mind or handing your emotions over? Because the second that you start that power struggle, you've lost. The moment that you start engaging in that power struggle, you've lost, right? So if they baited you and you took the bait, you lost. Now, to me, winning and losing is not what's important to me. My peace of mind is important to me. And I'm sure as shit, I work too hard that I don't want to just hand that over to somebody. It's just not worth it to me today, you know? I'm not 20 years old anymore, and maybe at 20 you can handle that shit. I don't know, but at 46 years old, I just can't handle that stuff anymore. It drains me like crazy. I just don't like to argue with anybody, you know? Like, I don't know, you guys are probably, most of you out there are like similar to this. It's like, like I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, who do you argue with on a regular basis? I just don't have people in my life that I really argue with. You know, do Alex and I argue over stupid stuff? Like, we'll both get home and it's, you know, 6:30 or 7, and I'll be like, have you, you know, he'll say, did you feed the dogs? And I'll go, no, and then I go up there to go get the dog food, and I'm like, there's no dog food up there. I'm like, damn it, what? There's no dog food. You know, you fed them yesterday. I wish you would have let me know it was the last can. You know, it's stuff like that, but we don't argue. Like I mean, there was times that we did in the past, argue. I think that's kind of early relationship stuff, but, you know, I don't really have people in my life today that I argue with. I don't want toxic members of my tribe. You know, when I read Kelly Catrone's If You Have to Cry, Go Outside, she talks in there about the importance of, you know, building a tribe of people around you that are like-minded and that have a common interest as you and respond to the world in similar ways as you do, so that they understand you, right? I think that's one of the biggest things we don't talk about. Just because 6 people might like photography, right, doesn't mean that all those 6 people respond to criticism, photography criticism, the same way. You know, somebody might really need one-on-one criticism, where somebody else can handle it in a group setting, where somebody else doesn't care about criticism at all, and somebody else can't even take a little bit of harsh criticism because they're, you know what I mean? And I'm just using that as an example, but like, just because they all like photography doesn't mean that they respond to the world in the same way. And I think, you know, like when we pick the people that we have around us, you know, when I think about my tribe of people today, you know, who I have in my corner, you know, we all kind of speak the same language to some degree, you know? It's interesting because, like, Tanya and Melissa are as different as night and day, except for that they both love dogs, but they're protective beyond belief in kind of their emotional response to the world. You know, like, neither one of them is highly emotional. Like, Tanya, yes, like in meetings and things like that, she'll cry if she's really upset. I've seen her. She'll laugh joyously, and we have a lot of fun, right? And with me sometimes, but typically, like, Tanya's not like a highly emotional person. Melissa's not a highly emotional person. And I think it's interesting that I have people around him. Alex is not a highly emotional person. You know, that's been like something that he's been working on in counseling, is to be more in touch with his emotions. You know, I think it's interesting that a lot of the people around me are people that are not highly emotional, right? And I'm just kind of thinking this out loud as I'm talking right now, because I haven't really thought much about it, honestly. But, you know, what's interesting to me about that is that maybe that's because I need people to wrangle in my emotions, or maybe that's because I really need to see, you know, like, okay, if this is my emotional response, I think people think just from watching my videos and my vlogs and stuff that I bawl my eyes out all the time. That's just not the case. It just isn't. But I think it, you know, maybe when I'm with those people, you know, when I'm with my circle of people, I understand, like, if I'm too high emotionally off of the charts or too low off the charts, I can kind of get a realistic response by, I don't know why, you know, but I think it's interesting to me. I will tell you what I love about Melissa and Tanya is that, and I've seen Tanya cry a lot. I've only ever seen Melissa cry once, and it was for a fundraiser for a dog rescue. And she was standing back by the door. I think she was somebody that maybe, like, we haven't really talked a lot about it, but I think when Melissa was growing up, probably, you know, they, like, my family's big, like, emotions, you know, like, laugh, cry, my whole family, daddy and mom's side, my stepmom too, you know, very much, but I think, like, maybe Melissa's family wasn't so much like that, because Alex's family is not, like, hyper emotional either, but that time at the dog rescue, they were showing, like, this video of this dog that had been found, and it was, like, almost, like, it had almost passed away, and, the dog rescue, like, took it in, and, like, took it to the vet, and, like, got it cleaned up, and, like, fixed it, and then found it a foster home, and then it had been fostered out, and then the family that was going to adopt the dog was there that day, and the foster family was going to give it to the, it was so cool. I talked about it on here. It was a Valentine's Day thing, and, I looked back at the door and Melissa was crying, you know, because she was part of all of that, and she just, like, animals, I think it's interesting that myself, And my 2 closest friends are people that are just like obsessively in love with animals, you know? Because when you think about animals from an emotional point of view, they can't really hurt us, you know? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But I love how Melissa and Tanya are with, you know, dogs. Cats too, but I mean, because, you know, Tanya has cats at the kennel, and Melissa has cats, but I don't know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I think the most profound thing I've learned in the last year goes back to what I always knew to begin with, was that my emotions are a choice, but so is my perspective and my point of view. So is how I want to live my life. So is the condition of my life, the energy that I put out, you know, and you know, if you think of yourself being taken as like an Instagram picture, what would that picture look like, you know? And would that picture be a picture that would be, maybe that's a stupid analogy, but to me it's not, you know? Like, would that picture be a picture that would be desirable to you if you saw it? And then if not, what do you need to do to get there? You know what I mean? It's interesting because I was thinking this to myself right now as I was asking a question, and the first thing I thought to myself was, my picture would be very busy. And I saw myself over, like, because I have this, like, big book that I have that has, like all of, like, my lists of all the things that I have to get done in a day. And my picture that I saw for Instagram was just me flipping through this book. Which is interesting, because then what that says is that the part of myself that I see, I'm not talking about how other people see me, I'm talking about how I see myself, is being very busy and not relaxed. But the picture that I would like to see would be coming out of the ocean, or laying by the pool with, you know, ear pods on, or reading in a little reading nook, you know? It's interesting because back in the day, my very first apartment, people really loved my apartment that I had back in the day. I've talked about it on here. It was so bohemian and just different and fun, and, you know, I was constantly I love thrift stores, and I was constantly going to thrift stores, and I would see stuff. Now I ask myself, like, do I need this? It's junk, don't bring it, blah, 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 whatever. But back then, you know, I would see, like, all this stuff, like, I had all kinds of craziness in my apartment, you know? And candles literally just everywhere, and, you know, incense burning, and plants. I had so many plants everywhere, you know? And, like, I was talking to Alex about this the other day, and I said, I really miss, like, just getting excited to, like, put up, like, 10 pictures on the wall, or buying plants, you know, and all this. And he goes, well, babe, do it. He goes, if it makes you happy, do it. He was like, why aren't you doing it? I go, well, I don't know. I don't know that you would like a plant. He goes, why do you? Of course I would love a plant. He was like, go buy all the plants you want to plant. Make this, or that you want to buy. Have this house be as green as you want, you know? And I see our bed having, like, this huge, because I've been talking about, you know, redoing our bedroom forever, and it's just like I talk and I talk and I talk, but then I don't put any action into it, and the things that I want to do aren't really that expensive anyway. I found some nightstands the other day, different than the ones that we had originally found. They were like $100 each. And then these lamps, I don't think I'm going to get the lamps anymore that I had thought about originally, because I found so many people online, the reviews say that they're complete junk, so I'm not going to get them. But I found these other lamps that I liked, and then, just this huge white comforter that I found, like, on some website on Instagram. This light is really long tonight. This is weird. It doesn't usually take this long. On Instagram, and you know, like, I just have this picture in my head of how I want it to be, and how I want, you know, like, our house to be, and like, I see so much, like, color and light in 2019. It's really weird, like, you know, with doing, like, my predictions video, and I've gotten so many questions, and people are like, I mean, I get legit questions. I mean, I've gotten, since I did that video, people reach out to me and ask me for readings. I've gotten questions from people that are like, are you really psychic? Like, how did you know this stuff? Whatever. And, you know, I'm a big believer in intuition, and I'm a big believer in honing in on your skills and things like that, and, I feel like 2019 for me is going to be a very spiritual year. I feel like it's going to be a very colorful year. That I'm going to get back to a lot of my roots of just this happy, kind of just, you know, free living lifestyle, and just full of music and art and books, and just living the best life that I possibly can have. And I really want to show that to people. You know, I really want, like, you know, it was interesting because, like, on my, there must be some new people to the vlog, because I was reading through the comments, and a couple people were like, maybe it was just like one or two, but like, does he just drive around in a car every night and take random drives? Yeah, that's kind of what I do. But it really is, like, you know, like, I mean, I own that. Like, it really very much is that, and I enjoy it. It's very therapeutic for me just to, like, drive around. It's like kind of like a live journal is how it feels, you know? It's just me kind of, like, thinking, stream of consciousness out loud and stuff. But, you know, I really want my vlogs in 2019 to be, like, my traveling and, like, showing a lot of that and whatever, you know, and all kinds of stuff. And not just being in the car, you know? Did I tell you I bought a new battery? So I finally bought a new battery. I got online and bought a new battery. It should be here by tomorrow or Sunday, I think. God, it was expensive. It was like 40 bucks. And then I bought 2 new memory cards. So I'm basically like a new person at this point. 2018 was the year of me having to get new cameras. Do you guys remember that? Like, it was not a great year as far as cameras for me. So I went into 2018, I believe, with the Sony Alpha 5100, which I loved. And then I had to buy a new one in 2018. And then that one broke, and Sony was worse customer service. So then I bought the Canon G7X Mark II, which is what I have now. That's this camera. I love this camera. So if you're looking for a vlogging camera, it's the Canon G7X Mark II. I love this camera. I absolutely love it. Although I must have gotten it on sale, because when I was at Best Buy recently, it was like $150 more than what I paid for it, unless it's a newer version of it, I don't know. Because I paid for it, it was like almost $500. When I was there the other day, it was like $650, $653, I think is what it was. Maybe I paid a little bit more for it, I don't know. But then, do you guys remember it literally broke like 3 weeks after I got it, and I took it back because I called Canon, and they're like, well, you have to mail it in. And I'm like, well, can you just give me, like, you know, a voucher, and I'll just send it back to you, because I just had, oh, no. Maybe it wasn't even a month. I think it was like a week or 2 weeks or something. Oh, no, you have to mail it back, and then we'll assess the damage, and then we'll fix it, and we'll mail it back to you. I'm like, well, how long am I going to be out of a camera? And they're like, oh, you know what? I was like, oh, no. So I took it back to Best Buy, and they took it back. Just exchanged it for another camera. They were so awesome. Oh my God. Best Buy's customer service, fantastic. I've had such great interactions with the people at Best Buy. They're always so good. Like, the guy the other day when I was in there, I was asking him for a battery, and he, like, looked it up on his phone, and he found the battery that oh my God, I cannot believe that I almost made it the whole night without the camera sliding. Okay, I was so excited. But anyway, I was at, come on, you stupid camera, slide back so people can see me. But when I was at Best Buy, the guy was, like, trying to help me find the battery And he looked it up on his phone and all this kind of stuff. He's like, well, we don't have it. He was like, but I think he was looking on Amazon and he found it. He was like, they have it on Amazon. And then he was like, but they probably have it at Walmart. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. And so I was like, I'll just get it on Amazon. So I order on Amazon. But then when I was there to get my camera, I think I had to order one of my cameras. I can't remember. But I remember this girl helped me and she was fantastic. And then when I brought the camera back, because it was like broken, they were so nice. So nice. I just could not believe the customer service at Best Buy. So impressive. And then this summer, when I was buying Alex's headphones, and then I bought the iPods, or the AirPods, the guy that helped me, he was fantastic too. And he told me like every little thing about the AirPods, and he told me like, because Alex really wanted the wireless Beats. He was really excited about that. I know a lot of people don't think they're great headphones, but that's what he wanted. And he researched them, and he listens to headphones, big headphones, and I'm just not a big headphone person. But anyway, he wanted the noise reduction and all that kind of stuff. And the guy was like really nice. He's like, yeah, they're great, but they're not as good as these. And I was like, okay, but these are the ones that he wants. And he was like, I mean, he's like, they're similar. They're still really good. And he was like, but, you know, like I think he showed me the Sony ones or something like that. So yeah, I've always been impressed with Best Buy. How did I go from talking about being positive and having all that in your life to Best Buy? I don't know. I wonder how long I've been vlogging now. I don't really know. I'm trying to figure it out by the time, but I can't figure it out. So yeah, I bought the a new battery that should be coming, and then I have I have two new memory cards, and I actually took those in with me. I was smart. That time I was smart. I took the one that I broke like the side of it off. It's so weird. So if you guys have a camera and you use a memory card, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's the part where it says like if it slid one way, it's like the lock on a memory card, which I didn't even know existed. So until I started filming videos, and then one day like my camera said memory card locked, and I was like, oh my God, what did I do? And I Googled it and it told me what to do. It was real simple. But anyway, the little lock thing came off of my memory card. So I was like, what? So I took my memory card into Best Buy and I bought two more. They were expensive. They were $26 each. But anyway, like $26 or $27 each. And then, so yeah, I'm set. Like, I hope I don't need a camera in 2019. I hope I don't need another camera. But I think 2019 is going to be a really good year. I actually think, like, we're going to have some really bad weather. I think the end of February, beginning of March. And then I think the spring and summer is going to be fantastic. I think I'm going to be, I have this really weird feeling that we're going to be traveling a lot in 2019. You guys, I am so not happy because I wanted to make it through. Well, I guess I did. Was it yesterday or the day before? I wanted to make it through an entire vlog without the camera sliding. So, anyway. But that didn't happen. It's now slid twice, I think. Twice? Yeah. But anyway, in 2019, like, I see a lot of like really fun, colorful stuff happening for us. I see some travel opportunities. Yeah. But I'm also like open to taking a lot of like risks and doing new things in 2019 and trying like a lot of new things and fun stuff. And I think that's important in life, you know? I think it's important to, I don't know. Do you know, it's like when I see these pictures on Instagram, and it's like granola, and they'll have like blueberries in it, you know, and like almond butter, and then they'll have like, you know, bananas in it, and they'll have like, you know, a glass of orange juice or something, or tomato juice, you know. It's like this breakfast, and it's like sitting there like on the side of the beach, and I'm like, oh my God, like, I want that. Well, I can have that, just maybe not on the side of the beach always, you know what I mean? And like, I think that so much of what we see in the world that we want for ourselves, we really can have. Like, we really, truly can have that. I'm not just talking about granola with almond butter on it or honey or whatever, you know. I'm talking about this picture that we imagine, you know, like our lives to look like. Like, we can have that, you know, many times by reading books or listening to music or traveling locally or, you know, just getting involved, meeting new people. There's so many ways for us to make our lives really colorful and really positive, and, you know, just being... You guys, it slid again. Anyway, I mean, I just think there are so many ways to be, you know, to live this very fun and colorful, spiritual life, you know. And I don't mean spiritual like religious. I mean like of the soul. Like, what does, like, you know, I was talking about this with my car. It's like, what does your soul really speak of? And, okay, my soul speaks a little bit more out of comfort than excitement. But, you know what I mean? Like, what does your soul speak of? You know, I think one lesson for us to really remember in 2019, for me to really remember is, you know, I say it, and I've been saying it more and more in my videos because I want to remember it, is that life is not a dress rehearsal. Like, this is not a dress rehearsal, okay? You know, like, you're gonna only be here once. If you need a good example of that, watch the movie Auntie Mame. Not the movie Mame with what's Lucille Ball. I think that's who plays it in the movie. But Auntie Mame with Rosalind Russell. It's a fantastic movie. It was one of my favorite movies as a kid growing up. My dad loved the movie. My mom did too, but my dad really did. And it's about Mame Dennis, and it's based on a true story. And she was like this New York socialite, and she had this friend of hers, this actress named Vera, and they just basically, like, I mean, it's there's a lot about drinking and stuff like that in it, but Mame just lived this very entertaining, kind of like crazy life, right? You know, and always changing, like every scene in the movie is like when a new like scene starts, like a new chapter of the movie, it's like changing of like her furniture in her living room, and it's just very, very cool. And at the very end of it, so what the story's about is that she has a brother who's very, very conservative, I think in Chicago, and he passes away, and so she becomes the guardian of his one son. So she becomes the guardian for her nephew, Patrick, and and so he grows up kind of like in this crazy lifestyle of like, you know, making martinis and all these crazy people being around and all this kind of stuff. And so at the very end, you know, he's married this nice woman, and they have a son, and she's walking up the staircase, like, and she's talking about taking him out of the country. To Morocco, I think. And she's like, have you ever been to... She's talking to this little boy like he's like an adult. She's like, have you ever been to Morocco? She's like, it's fantastic, fantastic. Like, if you ever hear me say in my videos, like my drama videos, where I'll say things like, my memoirs, like, because that's from somebody says to her in the movie, they're like, she's so like, she's hilarious, okay, but she's such a loving soul too. And somebody says to her, have you ever thought about writing your memoirs? And she's like, my memoirs, yes. She's hilarious. And so at the very end, it like spotlights on her. Oh, it kind of almost makes me cry thinking about it. I haven't seen this movie in forever. Did you hear my congestion? Anyway, do you remember that commercial back in the day? I don't know why I just thought of this, but it was like coughing something, dun 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 dun, and congestion. Do you know what I'm talking about? Anyway, so at the very end, she's like walking her, I don't know what he would be, her grandnephew up these stairs. Would it be her grandnephew? I don't know, but anyway. up these stairs, and he says, her nephew says, don't forget to have him back in time for, you know, school starting in Labor Day. And she's like, when is Labor Day? She's like, November, December. She's like, she doesn't care, you know. But it's such a great movie. And she is somebody that really, really lived life, you know. And when I look at people in my life that, like, really lived life, when I look at people that inspire me, you know, whether it's somebody like Stevie Nicks, you know, who has lived a life, you know. I have a very close friend of mine. It's just a very simple house, but when you walk in, it's like, you know, bright colors everywhere, and it's just, you just walk in, you're just so happy, you know. And she's always talking about, oh my God, did you see this book? I found this book, you know, at Barnes & Noble. I was there, and I never heard of this author before. And, you know, she's always talking about some kind of new guacamole or hummus that she just found. And she has a vegetable garden out back, you know, and she's little dogs running everywhere, and she's always knitting. And she just lives this really colorful, exciting life, right? It's very simple, though. You know, it's not like extravagant. She's not singing to 30,000 people, you know. She's not acting, and it's simple for her, but she inspires me because she lives this, like, incredible life, you know. And she's so positive, and she's always helping other people, and, you know, she's never hurting anybody. And, you know, she's just such, I just think, such a light in the world. And, you know, like, that's what I want to be, and, like, that's how I want to. The battery is flashing at me, so I'm gonna have to end this in just a second. But, like, that's how I want to live my life, you know, with that kind of, like, energy. And that's the word I'm looking for, energy, you know. What energy do I want to, you know, have in my heart and in my soul, you know. And I think, you know, it is a choice, and I have to remember that the lightness and the spirit, and having this very, like, positive attitude is a choice. It really, really is. And I have to ask myself every day that I wake up, who do you choose to be today? You know, and how do you choose to live your life? I have to remember that, you know. And sometimes it's not easy, because sometimes I wake up and I think to myself, I think I might choose to be an asshole today. But then I take a step back and I'm like, you know what, that doesn't really benefit you in the long run. That's not, like, really who you want to be. It's not, you know. So anyway, all right, you guys, I'm gonna get off here before the battery stops. I hope you are having a fantastic weekend. That vlog was, like, all over the place, wasn't it? I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.